Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rankin.
Here.
Vice Mayor Walter.
Here.
Councilmember Woolridge.
Here.
Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Wall.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll stand for a moment of silence and we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's keep in mind a brand new year and all the guidance the council can take. If you have any time left in there, appreciate it. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is a call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the town council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take any action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. You have any slips, Lisa?
I do not have any slips.
We don't have any slips filled out to speak. Is there any member of the public who'd like to speak? If so, come forward. Don't see any movement. Close call to the public. Lisa.
Item 6, presentation and public hearings. Item 6A, presentation by County Manager Gregory Stanley on economic development in Pinal County 2015.
Evening, Mayor and members of the council. I first of all, before I get started, I wanted to say thank you to the mayor and the council for inviting us. Tim Knable and I have been, this is a kind of a canned presentation that we sent you that we've been going around and trying to do at chambers and other things, just really talking about the economic development activities in the county. And I tell you, we're in Florence. Florence is the county seat. We want Florence to succeed, and more than anything, we want Florence to succeed. So whatever we can do to help improve economic development, the county wants to work with you in getting those done. And that's really the key message I want to give you tonight. Secondly, I want to thank Lisa Garcia. She helped work with this. I know we'd originally planned it back in November. I don't know how many of you know Tim Knable, but he's been ill, and so we ended up having to push it off. And in fact, tonight he's at a medical appointment, so that's why he's not here with me doing this. But I do have Travis Ashbaugh is here, and Stephanie Mack, who's my executive assistant. Travis, many of you may know from his past time at CAG. He worked at CAG for a number of years. The county stole him away from CAG to work in our planning department, and then recently moved him over to Public Works, where he's been doing transportation planning. And now with Tim and some of his illness, we've actually assigned Travis half-time working with Tim, so he can get up to speed on the economic development stuff. So he's here to help with any questions you have or any follow-up that we need to do after this tonight. So let me get started. Uh-oh, and I just hit. So this is really a presentation on kind of what's been going on over the last year, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming up in 2016. But as you know, Pinal County, we want this to be a place that people live, work, and play. You see there some of our estimated population numbers. As you know, we're the third largest the counties in the state, and that current workforce of 155,000, to put that in perspective, about 78,000 of those people actually work in Maricopa County. So one of the things we want to do, I mean, you can imagine the impact that puts on our transportation system. One of the things we want to do is get that workforce working here in Pinal County, and we need to do that by doing some coordinated economic development. Our unemployment rate has continued to decrease since it hit that peak back in September 2009. We've got a lot of assets in our county. And I did want to encourage, if you have questions, feel free to interrupt me if at any point you want to ask questions as we go through this. I've got about 20 slides to go through. But we've got some tremendous assets in this county, and I think probably first and foremost is that we've got a very aggressive pro-economic development, and that's exhibited in a lot of our leadership. The Board of Supervisors kicked off a strategic planning process a couple of years ago, and it was an update to our old strategic business plan, but the big difference in this new plan is it's very much focused on how do we get economic development, how do we get quality jobs going in this county. And so I think, that shows how aggressive they want to be, and some of the things they've taken stands on, as well as a lot of things that many of the cities and towns have done, really do show how aggressive we want to be in growing this county. Of course, we've got a great transportation system, continuing to work on that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through this. But Interstate 11 is another one that is on, now is in the most recent federal legislation. We've got Union Pacific Railroad. The main line that goes from LA over to Texas runs through our county, and is a tremendous asset for our county. We have 8 rail-served industrial parks. That's something Pima County cannot claim at all. So, we've got assets that other counties do not have. Pinal Air Park, that's the air park you see as you're driving south on Interstate 10, right near the county line, and you see all those 747s parked out there. We've been in a long-term lease with a company that had sold rights to that park for a number of years. We've now, slowly but surely, we're starting to get some of that air park turned back over to the county to manage, and we've got a solicitation out now to try and bring in some new development in that area. Of course, our proximity to airports, everybody knows, and we got a lot of military here. Of course, here in Florence, very, very visible, but also down there at that Pinal Air Park, we've got operations, a military parachute school. So a lot of things people don't know about that are in our county.
Greg,
yes, sir.
Interrupt you, going back to the interstate. Shouldn't the north-south corridor be placed on that?
In the north-south corridor is in here later. I'll talk about it. But yes, it should be. I mean, it's one of our things that we want to make sure we get developed. And
if we talk about economic development and transportation being one of the main factors to it, and in close proximity to the Santan area as far as Apache Junction, Florence, Eloy, I think it's very important to put it in on the transportation area. That's just my idea.
I agree. And as our list of assets, very true.
Thank you.
Some other things we have. Well, did I skip? We've got, if you draw a 50-mile radius around that Interstate 8 and 10 connection, there are 850,000 workers in there, and that's something a lot of site selectors don't realize, that in Arizona people are willing to drive, and so that's some of what we've had to be able to communicate to them, is even though these workers may be in Pima County or Maricopa County, we think we're a great location, and we're in a place where we can start stealing some of those workers from them. Of course, Pinal County is also right in the heart of this whole megapolitan. They talk about the Sun Corridor. We've got available land. Tim used the word cheap there, like say inexpensive. But we have a lot of land in this county that is available to be developed. And of course, we have the other pieces of infrastructure a lot of people are looking for in gas and electricity. I talked a little bit about this strategic plan, but now all of our departments have spun off and created strategic plans, and very much they are focused on trying to increase that whole, how do we get the jobs growing in this county? Listed there a number of the targeted business job sectors that we've been focused on in the county. Some other things we've done some combining of departments. I think you guys are ahead of us as far as some of that stuff. and we've done some combining in order to streamline a lot of our things. About a year and a half ago now, we joined what was called TRIO. They gave us a seat on their board, and now they've expanded into a multi-county economic development group that's called Sun Corridor Incorporated, but it is based in Tucson or Pima County, includes Pima County, Pinal, Cochise, Santa Cruz County. And they've been very active in trying to expand. In fact, talking to Pima County staff recently, some of their people are getting upset that they're so focused on Pinal County and all the assets that we have and all the activity that's going on in our county. So I think, that's a compliment to us and how aggressive we're being in the county and in all our cities and towns. Of course, like you, we're members of MAG. Florence, Apache Junction, Maricopa, and Queen Creek, as well as the county, are all members of that now. That helps expand some of the, where we can put some influence out, as well as I see it as a way for us to leverage bringing some of those transportation dollars here that MAG has. And if you look at some of the things going on in the PM10, the CMAQ funding, the congestion mitigation air quality funding that MAG has, majority of their projects that they're recommending coming up in their new program are going to be in Pinal County and our cities and towns in the county. So that really has kind of worked out as far as being able to leverage some of that stuff. I list there the foreign trade zone. The county is, almost the entire county is now encompassed in what is the city of Phoenix's foreign trade zone. It essentially operates as a utility, but a foreign trade zone is a huge benefit to bringing people into our county. There are federal implications in that they don't have to pay duties and tariffs. If they import and export through that facility, it's essentially treated like it's a foreign land until they actually export it into the U.S., and so they can save that. But Arizona has also increased the benefits of a foreign trade zone by reducing your property taxes if you qualify both on your property and personal property that belongs to that foreign trade zone. And in Pinal County, we currently have Abbott Labs in the city of Casa Grande that's a member of that foreign trade zone, and recently the Tractor Supply Company distribution center that's located there has applied and been received. Some of the other issues we're working, of course, I mentioned we have really worked on establishing a better relationship with Pima County, trying to get their assistance in some of the things that we want to do. So Interstate 11 is one. They have, when ADOT did that initial study, it just came down to Interstate 8, and now Interstate 11 is actually going all the way down to the border with Mexico. The Union Pacific Classification Yard is one that's been a priority we've been working on for years. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Pinal Air Park, it being right on the border with Pima County. Pima County has offered up their assistance in trying to do some things there. They own some land that they've offered up that they could assist us in doing things like a runway expansion, getting some navigation easements and things like that that we need in that area. Some studies that we've been going on in the county, and I think some of these you're probably already aware of, but others, like the PARA study, that's a planning assistance for rural areas. We actually applied to do one specifically focused on the southern portion of the county. With that Union Pacific Rail potentially locating their classification yard, one of the things that needed to be developed was a transportation network in support of that. So we applied, and actually Travis led that study for us, and we're finalizing that study as we speak. But it looks at what do we need to do in order to support that area, potentially as a freight type hub for Pinal County. San Valley, we've started up a study that's focused on, that's an area that is just a series of master plan communities, and we've got housetops out the wazoo in that area without a whole lot of economic development or land that was set aside to be economic development. So we want to do a specific area plan that looks at that area and identifies, okay, how much of this that these master planners set aside for commercial, how much more do we really need? How much more industrial do we need? A lot of the vacant land that is still there is state land, so we need to bring them in as a stakeholder and work with that. But we need to identify some industrial economic development areas that could grow out of that area so people would have jobs there. Most of the people who live there are the ones that commute to Maricopa County to work. I mentioned the Pinal Area Park Master Plan study, but I would just tell you that we're really at the 90% completion on that. We're waiting on some comments back from the Federal Administration, and then our plan is to take that to our board for approval in February, assuming we get good comments back from the FAA. We've done a countywide workforce skills assessment. It wasn't a scientific survey, but it was a survey of what skills we have in the county, and I don't know of any other county in the state that's taken on something like that. But it helps identify the workers we have out there, what skills they have, and it looks at the distance that they're traveling to jobs right now. Something we can give people, the site selectors that are in here looking, and gives them a feel for what sort of workers we have available. We divided the county up into 5 different areas and completed that study by area, and we're certainly willing, we've got that available and willing to share with anybody. Copper Corridor, the eastern side of the county, very lacking in broadband infrastructure, so we've been doing some work on trying to improve that. And this Houston Industrial Park, that's a wildcat subdivision that is nothing but industrial, and it's in the unincorporated county south of the city of Apache Junction. And one of the things we've been looking at is, could we form an improvement district in that area to help, and then maybe get the city of Apache Junction to annex it and be part of their industrial tax base. We would love to do similar sorts of things in the town of Florence area with you.
Let me ask you again there, in the Santan Valley Use and Economic Development Study, how much insight, or have we taken a look at with our planning area and with our planning and development people to have an input on that in there?
Yes, in fact, the town of Florence is going to be one of our stakeholders involved in that process. I think we've got a scoping document that we're right now working with the consultant to nail down the scope and the cost, but we will be kicking that off very soon, and Himanshu Patel, that you all know well, is going to be leading that.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking on that is because, as we know, we're the farthest city or town in the East Valley. What we consider the East Valley, the MAG area considers us, and that we should have some input on what goes on around us, I believe, very, very strongly on.
Very much agree. Yes, we want your input. Give me the hook if I'm taking too long. I see Lisa's giving me that wink. Some things we're working on in the town, or in the county. We've been working on an expedited permitting process. We actually had that in place. Pinal County has a business assistance program. Our board's actually set aside some money. Within the statutes, there are very limited things you can use, but it is an assistance program that if a business is locating here, there are some specific uses that we can do. I mean, it has to be new jobs. They have to be 150% of the current average salary, so they have to be quality jobs. And then there are limited things by statute that we can use it for, like relocation of equipment, training programs, those sorts of things. This year we're going to start doing, we're looking at what we can do to help facilitate tourism in our county. We know, without even doing anything, we've got an $11 million industry here in tourism, and I think if we really worked on it, that could grow dramatically. We're trying to do what is, the term is economic gardening, but really try and focus it on veterans businesses, see what we can do to do some business assistance there. One of the things I'll talk about a little bit is the Workforce Investment Board. We did a separation from Gila County of that Workforce Investment Board. Very much part of their program is focused on veterans programs, but really trying to link up people that want jobs with those companies that are seeking jobs. That's one of the things we keep hearing, is that businesses can't find people, and we know they're here, and it's a matter of just trying to get this linked up. And then at the end there, just saying that we really do, if we can, as a group, avoid a lot of the parochial fighting between cities and towns, I really do believe that as a group we can really grow this county a tremendous amount. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the specific projects. I think everybody is aware of Resolution Copper. This is something that finally got federal. The federal land exchange was passed by and put into law. So Resolution is working through the environmental piece, and this is going to be a major investment in Pinal County coming to us. San Carlos, they've talked about trying to set up a casino similar to the Apache Gold Casino, but it would be near where if you know where their reservation comes down across the river from Dudleyville, it'd be right down at the very point of that. They think they will pull in a lot of, actually, Pinal County gamblers to come up and spend their money. So we've been working with them for about...
Isn't that right at Arabipa? Right in that area?
Just north of it, yes. And they've been off and on for several years on this project, but now that the economy's starting to pick up, they've really started talking to us again. We're working with them on an application to get some right-of-way in order to get that construction started. Inland Port, Arizona, this is the old, the city of Mesa owned a water farm down there, owned it for years, and I don't know if you all have met a guy by the name of Jacob Anderson, but very, very aggressively pushing to try and create an industrial multimodal type facility. That's an area now that's been annexed by the city of Coolidge, but that will be built out over a phase of a number of years, and I, just based on their history in the county, I really do feel this one pretty positive that this will move forward. Phoenix Mart, you've read the press clippings about what's going on there, and I know there's an investigation ongoing. The other piece of it I know is that the State Department has issued them a letter about this EB-5 visa program. We've sent some letters of support saying they need to continue on in the program. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but we certainly do think it needs to continue. That global product, it's a hard thing for a lot of people to grasp what it is they're doing there. And there's only 2 of these in the world. This would be the 3rd one. I equate it, I was in the military for a number of years and was stationed in Seoul. If you've ever been to Seoul, Korea, or some of the places in China, they have these areas that are just sort of informal, these sourcing centers where industries from throughout the country come and set up in little booths, and people from stores or wherever come in and they may buy 10,000 leather jackets, but in that little booth he's got 20 of them that are there. He just calls the factory and makes the order. But this would be a more formalized method of that sourcing. Tractor Supply, I mentioned before, they've already started operations, and this is in the industrial park in the Casa Grande area. They've also got plans for expansion in that area. Union Pacific, this is one that everybody's heard, state land, waiting for them to approve the auction. I've recently talked with the land commissioner. This is still on her plate to do. I know she has some meetings set up this month with both UP and some other industrial landowners down there, but she has told me this is something she plans to move ahead on getting that land out to auction. Case New Holland is building a research and development facility. It's in the unincorporated area, but it is essentially a facility where, as they've described it to us, they're going to bring equipment in and do everything they can to tear it apart and beat it to death to make sure it works right. But hiring a number of technicians, and they plan on being completion in an operation early this year. We've had a couple of urgent cares that have come up that have started. One is in operation, another one is planned up in the Santan Valley. That's an area, as you know, about 100,000 people, and they need medical care. They don't have a whole lot there, so this urgent care is moving ahead. Sheffield Lubricants. This is a company that takes used oil and actually recycles it and makes it back into industrial lubricants. They plan to be in operation in early this year. I was going to say early next year, but it's actually 2016. So this would be their first site. And they've got a website up that shows a lot of their progress, and it's in the industrial park in the Casa Grande area. Has rail access. We've got a number of miscellaneous projects that are going on. Some may or may not happen. Pinal County now has a zip line. It's in the Oracle area. They plan to start operations this month, but they've been doing testing on all their facilities. Hunt Highway, you may know, about a year ago, the Board of Supervisors elected to advance some funding by going out and getting a bond. So we've actually now finished phase 2 of Hunt Highway. Phase 3 just got awarded by the Board of Supervisors. They will start construction very soon. But the plan is to build out that Hunt Highway all the way to the town limits and get it to a 4-lane facility. Partnered with Resolution is a copper filtering facility, and this is actually just north of the town in the unincorporated area. This is an area where they will be actually pumping their liquid copper down to that facility, and then it's a drying facility at that place. They're going through the zoning process with us now. Won't open or be operational until they actually get Resolution copper up. But that's their plan for linking it up to rail, is to get it piped down to there and then rail it from there. I mentioned the county tourism program. Tim that's high on his priority list to work on this year. Sarco Ray Mine, they've been planning for an expansion. They tell us they continue to plan for that expansion no matter how cheap copper gets, because they know it will go back up. And when I met with them recently in discussions about that, they want to get their facility to be the most efficient, so when copper prices go down, they start their layoffs in the most expensive manufacturing facilities, and they want it to be the least expensive, so it would be the last to have any layoffs in the copper industry once they do this expansion. We've had some economic development companies come talk to us. Actually, we have 2 competing for the same site in Casa Grande, so hopefully one of those 2 will. One of those is potentially over $1 billion investment, and would be good for all of the county. It would certainly draw a lot of very high-tech employees. Copper continues to be a big interest. South of Interstate 8, in the area between Maricopa and Casa Grande, we've had with actually a lot of money behind them, a group that's talking about building a road race course in that area, complete with a private airstrip, be a combination of research and development and other activities that go on there. And they've actually hired some track designers from Europe to help put together that plan. They've been over here for a couple of meetings with us, and at least it seems like they're serious at moving that one ahead. We've had a couple of what I would call green projects, but looking at how to take this first Green West to Energy is actually taking cow manure and converting it to both methane and fuel pellets. And they've been off and on, but I know they've constructed part of that facility. They're still looking for some investors to help them finish out that facility. And then we've got a biogas facility that's talked to us off and on, and that's also out in the western part of the county. A hotel project, and they don't want us to be very specific about what they plan, so I won't be. We've got a lot of partners.
Greg, let me ask you that. Go back to that. What have you heard about the natural gas cavern down between Coolidge, where APS, I guess, is involved in that? Do you have any idea or any information on that?
Nothing new. You're talking in the salt mines that are, yeah, we've had discussions off and on, but I have not heard anything recently as far as plans to move ahead on anything down there.
Okay, thank
So as I mentioned, a lot of partners, and as I've said before, we're working with all of these groups on things going on like this. We've had meetings with cities and towns trying to bring their managers, their economic development people, but it's our desire to do whatever we can to help try and coordinate with all of our cities and towns to move economic development forward in Pinal County. The utilities as well have been great partners in a lot of this stuff. So some of the things coming up this next year, Ironwood Road is one. The board, that is the north-south way for people to get into the Santan Valley. We did a major project there. We're going to do some safety improvements. In fact, some of those are ongoing right now up in the Apache Junction portion of it, but we've got some others that we will be doing out there. Hunt Highway, I mentioned, is already under construction, that third phase. We are working with state land in order to get that Gansel extension all the way down to Hunt. So Ironwood Gansel would come down and actually connect into Hunt Highway. Pinal Air Park, we've got I mentioned we have some portions of that air park out for lease now. We just received proposals last month that we will be evaluating, but it's essentially tell us what you can do sort of proposals. And so we got some interesting proposals that we're going to be reviewing. One of our desires, the county owns a lot of land and we want to start disposing of it. One of them is right here in town that we've been working with the town on as far as, and actually Himanshu has taken the lead on this, but our desire is to have some people come in and make proposals as to what they do with that vacant lot, the old elections warehouse was, and give us some proposals. We would sit down with the town, figure out which one of those is the best, and see if we can move forward on that. But that's part of our county land sales process. We've got a number of them we're doing this year. I think over 100 parcels that we'll soon be disposing of, and it's a way to get land back on the tax rolls. Home Depot has come in and talked to us again. This is up in the Santan Valley area. They had plans to expand in there before, put it on hold when the market tanked, and they're back in talking to us. In fact, started talking to us as soon as we were announced that we were going to do the improvements on Hunt Highway. Tourism, we want to continue to grow that. Our county workforce, we think that's a great selling point of the county. We've got some tremendous workers in Pinal County, as you do here in your town, and there's a lot you can do by just having a positive attitude about how to get things done, and we want to get that message out there that we look at things in a positive way and we want to get things moving. Red Rock, the Union Pacific, that's something we're certainly pushing with state land and we'll continue to do. Sun Corridor, our relations with Pima County. So some of the other things I mentioned, that north-south corridor that ADOT has been studying, one of our concerns has been ADOT doesn't have funding to build it once it's decided. And I think they've been holding off getting an approval of the environmental process just because they know there's no money there to build it. So we've been in discussions, and I know CAG came here and did a presentation on this idea of a regional transportation authority. I just think that will really jumpstart the growth in this county if we can get some of these regional roads put together and in place, and actually, instead of all the plans we've been doing, actually get to some construction of them. So, that north-south corridor is one of those that we've got on that list. The plan right now, I think when Andy talked to you, we were looking at possibly a May election, but we've pushed that out to November. We're finalizing, we just today received revenue projections, if we did it as a half-cent sales tax, what those would be over a 20-year period. So we're at the point where we'll be coming back out and talking to all the cities and towns about which projects specifically to put in there. We've got some cost estimates and things like that. So I think we've got some pretty good information that we'll come back and share with you very soon on all of that. And then the other one I'd mention is the passenger rail study that ADOT's been doing. you know, I know there's this huge price tag associated with that, and I also know it can be picked off in pieces, and I think that, you know, pieces that use the existing rail as a potential, you know, just a corridor, a commuter corridor, things like that are options that we really need to help push. And when we get some of these things going, I think those are the sorts of ideas that we're going to be pushing with ADOT. And I know you all have been very forceful in your desires on where those corridors go, and we certainly want to help facilitate that. So I think that was my last slide. Subject to any questions.
Any member of the council have any questions? Well, Greg, thank you much. We appreciate a lot of information there. Make sure and tell Tim we're thinking about him to get well, and you know, we see him back, even though him and I argue every once in a while. But
he's actually feeling a lot better. I don't know if I should say it, but he's on dialysis. He's here in the town of Florence, and his energy level has just skyrocketed since he started that. So, you know, it's good, and it's good to see him back, and I think these guys would attest he's gotten loud again. So it's good to have him.
Well, the one thing about it, as long as we can keep working together as a region to make things work, that's what we have to look at. What's good for the whole region will be good for certain different areas of it, in my opinion.
I agree. And I see Brent's waving his hand.
Brent, you got something you want to say or ask?
Mr. Mayor.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Greg's got the floor.
I wanted to congratulate you all on hiring Brent. Brent is a good friend, and he brings a tremendous amount of energy, and I'm so excited to have him here at the town, and I think you guys really made a great choice.
Okay, now you can go, Brent.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, would it be appropriate on behalf of the staff of Florence to thank Greg and Pinal County and what they've been continuing to do for us in terms of economic development, but in a number of other facets? I think it's cool that Greg came tonight and said some nice words, but I'm here to emphasize that we will be working with Greg and Himanshu and the staff, and I look very much to the next time this presentation is given to the town of Florence to have Florence on a couple of those slides and successful projects, and we'll be working towards that. I've worked with Greg for many years. Both of us are transportation guys and came out of the transportation world, and if you check it out on the internet or in any number of studies that exist in Pinal County, Casa Grande, or other parts of the state, you'll see our names on it. We've had a lot of success working together before, and I look very much forward to working with Greg and having additional successes. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, Greg, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Now we got one more here now.
Item B, presentation by Jamie White, Town GIS Coordinator, on the development of a new Geographic Information System webpage tool for the use and benefit of the internal and external customers. Mr. Jamie White will be giving his presentation.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Jamie White. I'm a GIS coordinator. I've been here since April of 2014. I had presented you guys some great tools that we've put together here at the town. For those of you who don't know, GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. It's using spatial data to do something with, analyze where your sewer lines are, give you information about your parcel and various information. We use a lot of different resources to do that through Pinal County as well as our own internal information. Right now, the services currently consist of myself, one GIS coordinator that works underneath Mark Eckhoff in the Community Development Department. Typically, what I do on a daily basis is in addressing, map creation, including our annual atlas that many people use in town, including our police and fire department. Spatial data maintenance was adding new roads in when we have a new subdivision go in. Server maintenance, so doing stuff like what we're doing tonight, we're showing off some of these nice web tools. Public records requests as needed for utility information or what addresses are here and what the zoning is, as well as supporting all town projects on various projects. So, I'm a tall guy apparently. So, community development planners initially requested a tool based on internal and external customers to get zoning and general plan designations. in early last year, we decided to start working on that tool. Then, after a couple months of testing, we went ahead and rolled one out to internal community development members to test, tell me if it worked. They gave me back some feedback, and I made those adjustments and kept testing. And then in August, some of you might have gotten that email. I know Councilmember Anderson was one of those people who actually saw that email, responded to it. So we continued to do that and get some more information in August, and then the final changes were completed in September. Then in November, we had National GIS Day, which is a big thing here in Pinal County as well as around the country, where I was able to actually present this to my local peers in the county to find out what they thought of it, what could be improved, and the reception was really good. And based on that, I decided it was time to ask Mark if we should present it, and he said, let's go ahead and do that. So this is the first tool we'll show. It's the Town of Florence zoning search application. This is what you're going to see when you first open the web tool. You got some map navigation tools in here. You got some address search, a parcel search, as well as you can click in the map to actually get the information you want out of it. On a successful search, you'll get a box that indicates the parcel that was selected, as well as a blue dot, potentially, if you selected an address. And then up in the upper right corner of the map, you'll find out the parcel number, what the zoning classification is, what the address of that site is, as well as what the survey location is, the parcel owner, and all sorts of parcel information. And then at the very bottom, you can actually link right to the county assessor to get that information, including tax information if you needed more information than what's provided in my tool. Then we also expanded this tool to do a general plan search. Same setup, same tools, searching for addresses and parcels, as well as being able to click in the map itself to find information. And again, you click on a parcel and we show Town Hall again, you can find out that it's actually classified as a MPC, I believe it is. So what that does, I'd have to lean on Mark for that one, but it tells you what the general plan classification is. So developers can come into our town website, find these tools, and find information without having to call us right away to get their information, and then move on to calling us if they need additional information in excess of what they can get from this tool alone. So the tools we currently have available right now is a zoning search, as well as a general plan search, and then we also added a floodplain search because of some issues we've had in Anthem of FEMA not quite being up to date where we are. It's not the end-all be-all answer for what the floodplain is, because that's got to come from FEMA, but at least gets them in the right direction. And then we also have the general address search, which a lot of the members of the town are currently using in finance as well as in community development, just to find where our location is and see what's around the area. I can show these tools more if you'd like to see more about it, but if you have any additional questions or comments, or even ideas for future development, because right now we are wide open on what we can move on to towards. You can let myself know, or Mark Eckhoff, and we can make sure to help take care of you guys on anything you might have.
Does any member of the council have any questions for Jamie?
I have a comment. As Jamie said, he was nice enough to send me one of the invites back in August to look at all this. And I think this is a tremendous tool for the town, not only for the staff, but for the citizens. I have found several uses for it. Councilman Wall and I have had discussions about who owns what out in Anthem, and we were able to clear up some surprises that we had. But I find also it's to personal advantage to know who your neighbors are. I can go in and go down my block and find out who everybody on my block is. I know the kids, but I don't know the parents. But I think it will help the community, be closer. If you know who your neighbors are, it's just a tremendous tool for us to use in this information world. So I just can't say enough. I'm thanking the planning department for doing this. And also I wanted to ask about, I noticed that the police department still has a GIS open rec. Is that true?
I'm sorry, Councilman, I didn't hear your question. An open GIS?
Rec for a GIS coordinator? Did I read that wrong?
We don't have any requisition for GIS coordinator. Jamie's been the one, our go-to person.
Okay, well, all right, good.
Done a
Okay.
good job for us.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie, I just got one question for you. Have you coordinated with CAG and MAG in getting this information to them so that we have everybody's working on the same page?
We actually met with MAG a couple months ago, I think 6 months ago. They came down here once we were actually a part of MAG and showed us some of the stuff they provide and offered their assistance to us. The next step is to provide this to MAG as a resource for them to use in addition to what they have. And in return, they also said we can leverage their uses of their tools for whatever we need here.
How about CAG?
I have not had the opportunity to reach out to CAG yet, but that is a great opportunity.
I really think that we need to coordinate with CAG too.
Absolutely.
Okay. You know, Brent?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, geographic information systems are a very powerful tool, and I wanted to clarify for the public that not only is it a resource in terms of a searchable entity that might be able to provide information, but GIS itself is a relational database. It's more than maps. It's more than a map-making tool. It's an interface between actual mapping, photography, GIF, whatever you want to take that you can look at and relate it to actual spatial information, X, Y, and Z coordinates on a map. So it can do so many things. From what I've seen from the tool that's been created by staff, it's a wonderful tool, but from where I sit, there's tremendous opportunities for relational database tools to assist the fire and police department in terms of community policing, response time, station location. It's really endless, and I look forward to this young man's good work to help the other departments as well with tools that can be just as useful to, as you said, the town, the staff, the citizens, and the council.
And I agree with you, and I think the school district may be able to take advantage of what we've done. Maybe we can work with them also because they do have a lot of area in our town limits to go to. Updating it, what is your plans for keeping it updated?
Regular data maintenance, the nice thing about this is that it will continue to grow as we grow. The data itself is based on our live data stored on our internal servers. Once the data is updated on our internal servers, it's out to the web tools. So it's completely growable. It could be there for the next 20, 30 years based on network infrastructure. As long as it keeps up to date and we have somebody here who knows what they're doing with it, it will stay up to date with it.
Okay. Any other? Well, Jamie, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item C, public hearing on Resolution 1568-15, a resolution of the Town of Florence, of the Town Council of the Town of Florence, Arizona, proposing a one-time specific amount in excess of the state-imposed expenditure limitation and setting a specific election for May 17, 2016. Mayor and members of council, this is our second public hearing on the topic. Our first public hearing was held on December 21st. Our second public hearing is tonight. Immediately following the public hearing, the mayor and council will adjourn into a special meeting, at which time that you will have the opportunity to vote on this item. During that session, a roll call vote is required, and if the item does pass by 5 members of council voting in favor of this item, a publication will be prepared for the following week's paper. And that is all pursuant with the Arizona state statutes in accordance of having a special election for a one-time specific amount over the expenditure limitation. The Town of Florence's one-time specific amount over the expenditure limitation is $15 million, the same amount as we expended in the last, or the same amount that we proposed in the last election that was successful. And there's also the stipulation that's included that the Town of Florence will not exceed the prior year's budget. Does any members of council have any questions? Then we do need a public hearing.
Okay, no member of council has any question. We'll open the public hearing. Any member of the public have anything you'd like to say? I'm going to step down off the podium. Good evening. I know I have a 3-minute limitation. My name's Tom Rankin. I live at 345 West Highway 287. I'm speaking to you as a council member, town of Florence, as a private citizen. Kind of awkward. But ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very important that we get this election passed in order so that we can keep up the work that we're doing for the town. I believe that what we accomplished this last year has been very much of an improvement to our community. I think we lived within our means. We've been able to take care of what we had to take care of. I see nothing but the future of Florence going forward. This election is very important towards that. We have 2 other elections coming up this year besides this one. This is the first. We have to talk to the public. We have to get the word out to the public to support us. Take a look at the library. Take a look at the aquatic center, what we've been able to accomplish. Something that was very dear to my heart. I'm glad to see that we were able to do it. But we have other projects that are on the board too that we need to take a look at. So as a member of the public, I'm asking the council to get out the vote, get out the word to the public. Let's get the word out so that we have another successful election. So that again, we can take and give the money to our staff so that we can continue on what we're doing. It should be nice if we get the home rule passed, but we didn't. We have to do this. We had ulcers sometimes over how much money we're going to give to what departments and everything. But the departments, I think we're very fortunate to have good department heads for the town of Florence that stayed within their budget means and came forward with ideas on how we can go forward. So that's my opinion, okay? Thank you very much.
I will just note for the record then, while the public hearing is still going on, that if the council had an opportunity, they would have seen in the materials that the argument that was given to you, because this time council is required to give an argument for the proposition, and it'll be Proposition 408 that has been drafted for your consideration. We reviewed it at the last meeting, once again telling you if you have any changes, if you'd like to make modifications, please get with me. This will be coming back in a future meeting for action.
Are there any other members of the public that'd like to speak? Mr. Cheetah.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to say something. In my opinion, the council and town staff has done a fantastic job to provide amenities for the people that live here. That needs to continue. Why? Not just because to spend money, but it cannot be delayed because we have a tremendous workforce here, but the workforce has chosen largely not to live here. I think Councilman Hawkins has often referred to perhaps as many as 4,000 people who keep the asphalt warm coming up and down Hunt Highway and Highway 79. At certain times of the day, it's unbelievable. 5,000? Thank you. So I mean, while we may talk about economic development in terms of additional industry that can be brought in here, we already have a tremendous workforce here with the county and correctional industry. Yet somehow they choose not to live here, largely. We need Florence to be livable. And to be livable, we need to continue to spend funds appropriately, carefully, on amenities. I think you've done a great job up till now. And I second, although it was not a vote, I think it's very important that this motion gets carried and the public gets behind it, and not be short-sighted in terms of the way our town is headed. I'll talk later if I have an opportunity at the call to the public before the end of the session today, but I'm 100% behind this, and I think it's really critical for the future of our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Go to-
Make a motion to adjourn to special meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to a special meeting concerning Resolution 156815. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Motion to pass the resolution first. We only adjourn to the meeting. We need to make a motion to pass the resolution, to approve the resolution. Am I correct? I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1568-15.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 1568-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying, oh, we're going to have a roll call vote on this, excuse me.
Ready? Councilmember Woolridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Galeen.
Aye.
Councilmember Wall.
Aye.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hawkins.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walter. Aye. Mayor Rankin.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Make a motion to adjourn from a special meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn from the special meeting. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 9, consent. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A, approval of an application and to accept funds if awarded from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program to pay for EMT paramedic training for firefighters. Item B, approval of change order number 1 with Trimble Electric, Inc. for installation of a new traffic signal at Fire Station number 2 located at 2035 North Hunt Highway, increasing the contract price by $1,820.84 to bring the total contract price to $292.46. Item C, approval of an application of the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control for a special event license for the Assumption of Blessed Virgin Mary Parish to hold a festival on February 13, 2016 from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Item D, approval of accepting the Register of Demands ending November 30th, 2015 in an amount of $1,926,682.61. Mayor and members of council, that is your consent agenda for this evening.
Does any member of the council have anything you'd like taken off the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to have item B.
D?
B as
B?
in boy. B as in boy.
Thank you. Any other? Does any member of the public have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Seeing none, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removed item B.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of item B. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, John?
Yes, as stated previously, these overruns continue to plague us. I'd like to know why we went over $1,800. It was $1,820.84, but also would like to know why there was nothing put in the original contract to cover these kind of overages.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll call the Public Works Director, City Engineer forward.
Mayor Rankin, Vice Mayor Walter, Councilperson Anderson. Basically, the intent of the change order is to pay for the installation of a relocation of the APS meter pedestal to accommodate future development to the west, and also to basically relocate the signal cabinet, which was not a cost item in the contract. And what that did is we acquired easement, I believe it was in May of this year, in order to address the access control into the future development on the west side, which is owned by Southwest Value Partnership, which they gave us an easement at that time. The second item was due to the proximity of the wiring, the feed from the controller, we were able to locate provide lighting power to the monument in the southeast corner of the leg of the traffic signal. These were necessary during the course of the project. Hasn't been paid for yet. We withheld them from retention when we picked up the retainage when we picked up the final closeout documents. Basically, this was a unit price contract, so all the additional units are conveyed by the MAG standards, and basically what that says is basically you pay on a unit price basis. Now, and that's in the course of events that occurred. Now, why the contingency or owner's contingency wasn't included in the contract, I don't have that information with me, but in the future, as we did with the diversion dam contract, any contract that we were involved in, we were at owner's contingency, which allows not coming back to council based for approval of costs until the final contract is adjusted.
Why was this overlooked in the original engineering?
The lighting of the monument was not overlooked in the hearing because that came about when the monument sign was during the installation, and the contractor was in close proximity of the installation of that feeder at that location. The access, there's no defined right-of-way or easement on the west side of Hunt Highway at this location. Henceforth, Southwest Value Partnership came forward because they share engineers with Pulte and addressed the issue with them. They said, well, why don't we address, we'll come in, we'll pay for the fourth leg of the signal when it's installed, and just expand it across rather than not having the design finalized or the curb return in place prior to installation of the APS meter at the proper location.
Well, where was that fourth leg going to go under the original design?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Where was that fourth leg going to go under the original design?
It's basically probably going to be located in the medium on the east side. But what it does, it controls traffic from the west in the future access off of the Southwest Value Partnership, which is located on the west side of Hunt Highway.
Okay, I guess I just don't understand why this wasn't engineered. Brent?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I hear you. I've talked to a number of council members, and almost uniformly I've heard from council frustrations with perceived cost overruns on multiple projects over the last couple of years, including the Aquatic Center, the library. Obviously, this is a traffic signal project at this time. As somebody who has managed many construction projects, design projects, and both in the vertical and the horizontal alignments, no project goes without significant challenges. Having heard you last week at our staff meeting, we had a conversation discussing standardized protocols going forward for how we design, Mr. Anderson, and budget for and bring to council approvals for projects depending on complexity type and type of delivery, including design, build, construction manager at risk, job order contracting. From this time going forward, we will include contingencies in these items as part of the design and construction contracts, and that will be an owner's contingency, and you shouldn't see many of these coming back. I can't say they won't, because sometimes things go very far awry. I have hit Indian burials before. I had problems with noxious weeds. I will tell you, things can go crazy on projects. But going forward, we will make a categorical change to how we bring projects to council to avoid these type of items.
I look forward to that, and I understand that things like this do happen occasionally, but it's happened on every contract since I've been on the council. We've had overruns on. Thank you.
Okay. Need a motion?
I make a motion that we approve item B on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item B on the consent agenda. Any other discussion? Wayne, thank you for the explanation. Call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 10, new business. Item 10A, resolution number 1574-16, discussion approval and disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, ordering and calling a special election to be held on May 17, 2016, in and for the Town of Florence, Arizona, to submit to the qualified electors of the town the question, shall the Town of Florence regain local control and exceed the state-imposed expenditure limitation for fiscal year 2016-2017 by $15 million to allow the town to adopt a budget no greater than the amount that was adopted for fiscal year 2015-16. Mayor and members of council, tonight we are doing the official call to the election. And so what that means is that we are stating that our election will be held on May 17th, 2016. This will be a ground election. So when you're talking about the election, make sure people know that unless they have submitted a form to state that they want to participate in elections by all mail ballots all the time, then they will have to come in and they will have to vote in the ground election. It also gives a designation of election to allow the clerk to be authorized to conduct the election and to expend all expenditures necessary to conduct that election. It designates the purpose and sets the ballot language. So if you look at the resolution, you will see that the official ballot language is, shall the Town of Florence retain local control and exceed the state-imposed expenditure limitation by $15 million for fiscal year 2016-17 to allow the Town of Florence to adopt a budget no greater than the amount that was adopted in 2015-16. A yes vote shall have the effect of allowing the Town of Florence to retain local control and expend existing funds and revenues in a way that will allow the town to continue to provide existing services to its residents. A yes vote will not increase nor decrease taxes. A no vote shall have the effect of preventing the Town of Florence from retaining local control and its ability to expend existing funds and revenues, and instead require expenditures to be limited by the state-imposed expenditure formula based on fiscal year 1979 to 1980 expenditures, resulting in cuts to existing town services and projects. A no vote will not decrease nor increase taxes or fees. I think we need to amend our language to make sure that we're saying, well, I guess it says not increase and decrease. Perfect. The Town of Florence, I will be doing a call for arguments in favor or against. That's one of the requirements by state statute, is that we allow people to either submit an argument in favor of or against to be included in the publicity pamphlets. Those arguments, when they're submitted, they do need to be submitted with a $200 deposit. This covers all costs for both the printing and the translation into Spanish for being part of that ballot process and the publicity pamphlet. And anyone who wants to vote in the election, they have to be registered by April 18, 2016. That is the date that the council will set by adopting this resolution. We will make sure that all advertisements are placed in the paper announcing the call to the public, and it will be translated in both English and Spanish pursuant to the law. If council has any questions?
Do you remember the council have any questions, Lisa?
I don't have a question, Lisa, but maybe a comment. You might not want to use the word deposit because that implies that you can get that back.
Well, if we go through and we get a bill from, what it does is we get an itemized bill, and if it doesn't cost that much money, we will give them back that money.
Okay.
It's pursuant to the town code, it states deposit.
Okay.
It also means if they write a very lengthy letter that requires additional money, they will get a bill.
Okay. For the explanation.
Lisa, the only suggestion I make is to get with the newspaper and put out as much information on this as we can, maybe a town flyer or a newsletter going out with the utility bills about the election coming up. and then also give it Johnson Utilities to get it included in the water and sewer bills in the Anthem area.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, no comments? We'll go ahead and need a motion.
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 1574-16, calling special election for May 17th, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion second to adopt resolution 1574-16. Any other discussion?
Do we need to state the corrections that the clerk?
I don't know if there's any corrections.
There were no corrections. There were just a tongue-tied clerk.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Departmental reports. First one will be the manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you very much to all the town staff and the town council for your support and warm welcome. Really looking forward to the things that we're going to do in this community in the next few years. As you saw in your packet and online, the staff helped me assemble and put together a manager's report last week. Several things have come forward since that time that I wanted to bring to the public's attention based on information that I've received from individual department directors. The first item is a kudos item, and this came from Chief Hughes. We just got news that we have been awarded a Homeland Security grant for Operation Stone Garden, and we'll be bringing forth paperwork associated with that. I'm sure everybody is familiar with Operation Stone Garden, and this is the second year that this grant was brought before the council. You approved application of this. The Florence PD will be working with the Border Patrol and other law enforcement agencies to combat the flow of drugs coming into the county. This year's grant first consists of $81,726 in overtime funds and $10,000 in mileage costs for the department. In addition, there's looks like an opportunity to purchase a vehicle for the police department that will be a four-wheel drive vehicle that will assist in getting off-road with that program. So I wanted to say congratulations to the town council, to the police department for that. Second item. Chief Hughes wants to announce that he intends this year to start a Citizens Academy, specifically a Citizens Police Academy. He hopes to do 2 a year, I believe. And the first one he wants to start in mid-March, and then also have one in the fall. They'll run for 6 weeks. He's planning for a weeknight, probably a Wednesday night, and it will discuss not only how the town of Florence operates, but also the contribution that our police department makes to the community, and we're hoping that it informs folks and gets them engaged and perhaps brings some volunteers as well as some understanding for things like the item you just voted on to hopefully get support for the town. So thank you very much, Chief. The next item, I think that council is familiar with the project called the Diversion Dam Road Street Widening and Intersection Project. I've been told that that project's been discussed for a number of years, and I wanted to announce to council before Just gets out the public information announcement that this project is about to start. We will start construction in the very near future on Diversion Dam Road between State Route 79 and Bowling Road. We hope to start as early as this month, and as I said before, it's going to specifically mean some street widening and some intersection improvements, and we very much look forward to that. The road will stay open, as I understand it, Wayne, throughout the project. Next item. I had a very eventful and busy first week. One of the things that I had the pleasure of attending and going through occurred last week when ADEQ came to Globe to do an inspection of the South Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Come to where?
Sorry?
Came to where?
I'm sorry. Did I say Globe? I didn't mean to say Globe. It's only been 5 days. You got to bear with me here. And I've spent lots of time at the sewer plant in Globe. The town of Florence unfortunately is under a state-imposed letter called in a consent order regarding some challenges that we have had at the South Wastewater Plant of recent, specifically having to do with our disinfection system and dechlorination system at that plant. If you need further information, come and see me and I can talk to you about it for hours. But I was very happy to attend that meeting. The professionalism of the Florence staff was great. The ADEQ inspector who came out was very happy with the amount of change that has happened at that plant. Pumping has been changed, the dechlorination has been changed and upgraded, a new disc filtration project has been implemented, and an existing UV process has been upgraded and is back online. ADQ was very happy with the progress that we've made. We have 4 more months to complete the remaining paperwork, but everything is up and running. We did have a challenge this weekend where our headworks went down, but I'm happy to report that our staff did a fine job of not only notifying me, but getting those repairs done over the weekend. So kudos to the Public Works Department and the folks that work at wastewater for handling these very important issues for the state of Arizona. The last thing that I had to report is it was brought to my attention that Southwest Gas, and once again this will be a press release coming out from Jess, but I wanted to announce it tonight. Southwest Gas will start construction on upsizing multiple gas mains in Florence on portions of Florence, Bailey, Granite, Willow, Central, and Butte Avenue in the next couple months. It looks like a lot of the older lines are undersized and need to be replaced. There will be directional boring, which means digging bore pits for directional boring machines. There's going to be trenching. It looks like the project is supposed to take 3 months. We believe the project will take up to 6 months to complete. We will make sure from the public works standpoint that the traffic control plans are reviewed, that they are held to the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and that all things are safe. If you have any questions, please call Wayne or one of his staff members and they can walk you through that. As I've been told, Southwest Gas has been a good partner, and we're actually working with them on the project. Are there any questions on the report? Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there's any question of any other department heads?
Yes.
Sure.
I had a few. Mark, for the community development report, one of the items that I read piqued my interest, so I just wanted to ask you to give us a little brief summary about it. It was the tabletop emergency response exercise pertaining to the San Carlos Dam.
Oh, sure. Vice Mayor Walter, Mayor, members of the council. Actually, our new town manager, before he came here, invited me to attend that exercise, and we've done a lot of National Incident Management Systems training here, NIMS training, and including getting a lot of the folks that don't do it on a regular basis, outside of police and fire involved. And we've done some tabletop exercises in the past. This opportunity came up, and it was a great opportunity to go out to one day to actually go out and visit the dam, so you really have an idea of what's there and could visualize the scenario. And then the second day to sit and do the training. Now, what happened, and our town manager was there for the training part of it. What happened was that everyone was just so excited about that exercise, and anyone who went to the field trip the day before was just completely impressed with the structure, the magnitude of the facility, and the history of it and everything. There ended up being so much discussion and questions that we didn't get to finish the exercise fully that day, and so they're going to schedule a part 2 to it. But FEMA came out, and San Carlos was there, and there were some folks from Pinal County and Gila County and Department of Corrections, and it was a really great exercise. And I know our manager very much is interested in getting us to participate in those exercises again. So it was really great. I was impressed.
Let me ask you, You didn't get into what the flood, if that dam was completely full and the San Pedro was coming down, how far the water would get down here? Have you got into that stage of it yet?
Well, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, we did actually start to look at some of those scenarios, and we would get into those more in the phase two. But as you are aware, I believe there was 2 scenarios as recently as was it 93, and then also I believe there was a scenario in 83. But we did get to visualize. We saw some images of what occurred, and actually go into the structure, being able to see firsthand what had occurred. And they have an inundation map. So we have our FEMA maps and we have our floodplain maps and so forth, but there is a scenario that everyone is prepared for, which is the absolute worst case scenario. Right now, the San Carlos is about 10% capacity. The lake is 10% or less. It's been down to 0 or 1% in recent years. But it's still good to look at the scenario. If we had a lot of rain, a lot of runoff, we got to the scenario of the lake filling up and the dam filling up. The dam is designed so that when the water reaches the top, it just goes over the spillways on each side of it, and the Gila River will run. And there is an inundation area. So under that scenario where there is a dam, worst case scenario is the lake is full, the dam overruns, there's a dam failure of some sort. There is a study that looks at an inundation area going downstream, and obviously going upstream too, because there probably would be some backup on the river. So it's good to know that even though when you go out there you don't see much of a lake there today, it's a little depressing actually, the state of the situation. But it's good to know that there are folks that are still preparing for potential scenarios.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brent.
Mayor, I'm okay. Mayor, members of council, the exercise was a little bit strange because I would say it was 3-part. First was an education component to bring us all up to speed. The second was like a design review and comment exercise. And then the third part was the emergency exercise. In other words, we walked in and they handed all of the prominent members that were invited to attend a big 3-ring binder, about 3 times as big as the one for the council agenda tonight. And we went through it page by page and reviewed about 50% of it, and they had us actually write comments in pen in the book, and then we had to hand it back. So I think it's important to point out that it was sort of like a super secret exercise. We weren't allowed to leave the room with any of the materials because it's still all in draft form. It is a federally funded update to their emergency plan. Once it is available, which I understand is going to be in the next 3 or 4 months, we can bring that back and share that information with council and with the citizens of Florence. But we don't have anything to share with anybody right now because they wouldn't let us take it out of the room. So I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. Any
I do. I have one more, but I did want to say, Brent, we had an opportunity to sit down and talk, and I really advocate for, the emergency preparedness, for knowing worst case scenarios, and if there's ever an opportunity for council to also go and participate in those, I know personally I would like to have that opportunity. So keep that in mind. My second question was for the Finance Department monthly report. I noticed it says on the first bullet, Budget Committee reviewed drafts of general fund budgets, made recommendations. I didn't know when that was going to be coming back around to council, just so we can see the work that the Budget Committee has been doing over the past few months.
Honorable Mayor, Councilmember Walter, we're going to be bringing that to you in February. We're still tweaking some of the numbers, going and making sure that everything kind of balances and that we stay inside of our expenditure set.
Okay, I know how hard you guys are all working on that, so we appreciate that in the process.
Thank you.
Becky?
Yes, I've got a question for the Finance Director, Gabe. I noticed that in your capital CIP monies, your construction tax money, and your food tax monies, it's already November and very little has been moved. Is this due to the reporting from the state of Arizona and the remittance, or is this a item that you need to check into as far as for journal entering purposes?
Honorable Mayor and Councilmember Galeen, I believe it's more, I need to check into it and make sure that the journal entries have been completed.
Okay.
But I will get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Any other? Okay. This will be the second call to the public comment. Jim, do you want to say something now?
Thank you, Mayor. I hope I'm not standing in the way of a football game. Possible. I'd like to make a comment with regard to the previous decision to go out and request quotes for a strategic plan. I believe a budget was established on the order of some $50,000. I believe there can be no harm in having a new strategic plan, but I'd like to clarify something, and I would be willing to do that with longer than 3 minutes, and that is the difference between a strategic plan and the strategic intent of the town. I believe the strategic intent of the town, properly formulated, could be said in 3 minutes by each of you. We just need to converge on what it is. So I'm not opposed to a strategic plan, but if a strategic plan will go down the path of many plans that have been published and paid for by the town, it could be a 1-inch or 2-inch thick binder that may not be utilized. Some of the long-standing problems or issues that we've had in the town, such as tourism. Do we want Florence to be a destination? Do we want tour companies to bring tourists here for the historic value of our town? Do we want Main Street to be vibrant, really vibrant, rather than in decay? We have a lot of workers here, as I said earlier, that don't live here. So livability must be an issue. So with that, as 3 minutes, I'm concerned. I don't think we need to spend $50,000 on a strategic plan unless it addresses those issues, because those issues are really important to the future of our town. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other member of the public have any comment? Hearing none, we'll close call to the public, call the council. Bill?
I have nothing this evening.
Karen? Valerie?
I don't have anything.
John?
I have two things. One, I want to thank the new town manager and his, 5 days he's been here. It's surprising all the work that he's got done. And also, I'd like to thank our friend sitting back there in the corner, Mr. Cowling, for the articles in the paper this week about our town. And I don't know if people here all take the reminder, but there was a nice article in the Reminder about Anthem, Parkside, Pulte, and then in the Dispatch there was a nice article about the history of our town. So, thank you, Mark.
Becky? Terry? 3 minutes.
Doesn't apply. Now, I wanted to say happy 2016 to everybody. We're really looking forward to an amazing year. We have an amazing staff. Brent, welcome. In your first week, I know you've accomplished so much. Working with staff, getting to know the staff, sitting down and talking to different council members. I enjoyed spending time and meeting with you. We actually ended up going about 2 hours over our original time block, which is great because I feel that, a lot was accomplished. 2016 in the town of Florence is going to bring a lot of great things. We have our 150th celebration coming up. There's a meeting this Wednesday to discuss the plans and moving forward. And then in February, we move into our home tour for the town of Florence. We also have a lot of great events through Parks and Rec as well as at our local library. So I just encourage everybody to get involved in our town.
Need a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Wait, you don't have anything?
It's a new year. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.